and welcome to another episode of the Tell Nut Show. As always, we are your hosts. We have the fabulous Kirsha Fox. She is author of the Deception and Justice series, including the newly released Keeper of the Demon Skull. She's a homeschool mom to four, avid reader, and gamer.
And my co host is Julia J.K. Allen, editor, author, and author coach. She's a fantasy and horror author who loves to put magic in everything. And our guest tonight is Aria Vargas. They have written Heinous as a way to process the events of their life. This has been a passion project for years, watching their protagonist grow into the person she is while writing constantly and growing as a writer themselves. They want to inspire those who have gone through darkness and show them that they are strong enough to come out of their situations as well. Welcome, Aria.
Hello and welcome
Hi.
to the show. Yes, very excited to have you. So tell us a little bit about your writing journey. What got you started in writing? What does it look like for you so far?
The earliest I can remember even just writing short stories was in middle school. I had a couple friends that we had notebooks that we would write our little things in. It would be fan fiction, short stories, whatever, and pass them around with each other and just mark where someone was reading and continue on. Then kind of gone more using the computer instead of handwriting because it's
Right.
a lot faster.
It is a lot
And, well, my brain moves way too fast for my hands to actually write, so typing works.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting though because my first couple of novels, I actually wrote them all by hand and I would begin editing by transcribing them. But the process is so tedious because I love how different creativity feels when you're actually engaging writing by hand because I feel like it does different things with your brain. But typing it up like from your paper is like so tedious. I don't do that anymore.
I get that. I've done that with
Yeah.
role playing too. When I have no
Right.
access to the computer, I'll write down what I want to reply and then transcribe it later.
Needs must. Yes, when needs must, we'd make do. I love that your story kind of starts with this group of friends and writing fan fiction and just fun stuff among your friends. I feel like so many authors begin with fan fiction. So you're in really great company because like I do feel like it's a great way of like practicing writing before you need to worry about world building and characters and things like that. So it gives you like a safe way to begin with writing and creative endeavors and stuff. So you're in very good company.
Most of my fan fiction's never seen the light of day.
Nor should they,
And most
right?
of them should not. Yes. Oh my
So
gosh. Right.
it's a rite of passage. We have to start with the self inserts and the fan fiction, and we have to
Right.
write bad before we can write good.
Exactly.
Yes,
Oh, the
I always
cringe.
when I think of what I wrote in middle school and high school, yes, like you will never, no one will ever see it again. So, tell us a little bit about the genres you write and why you chose
um, so I do a lot in psychological thriller, horror, in that aspect. Basically, dealing a lot with trauma and abuse because I kind of write what I know. I don't do much when it comes to romance and such. I've just never really been a romance type person.
that.
I like to explore the depths of how much characters and people can actually experience without breaking. Because
Right.
I've been in some very dark situations that it's like, how did I not break? So exploring that and exploring what cruelty people can actually commit is something that
Right.
I still don't understand even when I was actually going to school for forensic psychology. So I use that in my trying to understand where my antagonists are coming from as well.
Right, right. So yeah, you rely on kind of those psychological aspects of the genre.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know the story a little bit, right? So I was actually fortunate enough to work with you on Heinous, and the situations involved in those stories. So it's an intense book, but not a bad one, right? So it's intense because of the situations that the character finds
Yeah.
themselves in, but not in necessarily a bad way, because I find that writing about trauma and stuff can be so very therapeutic, right?
It
For readers
absolutely
and
is.
writers. Yes, yes, for readers and writers. So it's very, very valuable to do.
Mhm.
But
I'm
yeah,
intrigued about going to forensic, criminology classes
yes,
and then using that to inform on your books and, like creating the profile of a realistic villain and
right.
how and what happens to the victims and like you have your own life stuff and then you have all that other stuff to pull from too. Like
Hmm,
that sounds
hmm.
intriguing and frankly terrifying.
I will say I am
Right.
a true crime buff.
Yes, yes. I feel like a lot of us are. I don't know what it is about like falling asleep to like bodily dismemberment and all that stuff, but we find a way to do it, like
Oh,
The
yeah, no,
majority.
I love to
Oh,
watch them, and I'm like, "Ugh, they use duct tape on their wrists. Ugh, amateurs, like, did they do no research?"
right,
Right?
right. Are they even trying?
Are they even trying? Are they trying to get caught? Because that's just
Right,
did they
I
think this out?
originally wanted to do profiling and then I dropped out of college because I burnt out. And I'm like, you know what?
right.
My entire dream growing up was being an author. Why not actually try to do it?
Mhm.
Yes, yes. No, it is amazing when you can realize those childhood dreams in like such a big, tangible way. Like holding your book for the first time has
I
got to be
cried.
hands down one of the best feelings ever. Yeah, yeah.
Yes, this is your baby. You made it. You're so like, you just wanna, like, squeeze it and hug it and
Yeah. I made
Yes.
hold
this.
it up for
I
everyone.
made
"This is
this.
my
Yes.
baby. I made this." You
Yeah.
should read it.
Yeah.
It's
I
good.
I I mean, I kind of did that at New York City Comic Con this year.
Yes, you gave
That's
it to some famous
exciting.
people, I heard.
Yeah, I talked with Hugh Dancy, Mads Mikkelsen, and Rahul Kohli, and each of them have a
Wow,
signed
yeah.
copy of Heinous.
Yay, yes. Oh my gosh, that's so wild. Mads is such a like big
They were
star, I
so
feel like.
nice.
Yeah, yeah.
They
It's great
were
when you meet
all
your heroes and
incredible.
they are still awesome people. You can still have them as your heroes because they often say don't meet your heroes. So
That is true. And I will say, I learned about a rumor that Rahul Kohli decided to create about himself that he's illiterate, just to see where people would go with it.
that's so you gotta have fun with it though,
That's
right?
a
Like
prankster.
if you're famous, you gotta kind of have a little bit of fun with it, I'm sure. So
Mhm.
So I thought it was hilarious. And he's like, no, this book's up my alley. I'm excited.
yay! Yes. No, that is so
So
awesome. Do you have any advice for writing the villains or the antagonists well, since you have that experience with psychology in school?
do as much research as you can.
Yeah.
Um, always research. And I always say out loud that this is for writing, not for anything else.
Mhm.
Because I joke about the FBI guy listening in or watching what I Google, but
Right.
always a
Oh, yes.
Right.
ton of research. And if you're interested in looking at the psyche, I have actually
Mhm.
found some really good books. I actually listened to one of them last month. I
Okay.
forget who wrote it, but it was The Anatomy of Evil. And
Oh.
he went through so much from even like I think 1800s to present day ish. Present
Sure.
day in like early 2000s, but still.
Yes. Looks like Michael H. Stone. Yes.
It was really good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because that's one of the things that I feel like is a pitfall that newer authors can sometimes make of like the evil for the sake of being evil, or um like where you get to the point where like the villain becomes so predictable, right? Because it's like the what I think it was like the third Thor movie where he like realizes Loki is going to betray him at the very end, and so he like put the thing on Loki to like zap him or something because he's like, you're
Yep.
so predictable at this point. And so like I feel like villains can be trickier to write than most people realize. And so
They
yeah, that'd be a
are.
good book to check out. Yes, because like yeah, the villain should be having purpose and motivations and things driving their actions more than
Exactly.
just like, oh, what's the meanest, thing I can do. Yeah, yeah, for the sake of doing the bad thing.
The other part of the
Yeah.
research on it, I highly
Mhm.
recommend just reading certain true crime books and authors.
Mhm. Yeah.
Like John Glatt is one of my favorites that I have found this year.
Okay.
And is it Michael W. Phelps? I think so. He's another one that I actually have been. It's either Michael W.
Right.
Phelps or M. William Phelps. I can't think of it right now.
Sure. Not a
But
problem.
both of them have been incredible to listen to because they go even more in depth with both the background of what the perpetrator did and even with
Right.
what the victims went through, and a lot of
Sure.
them with the trial and everything. So
Okay, yeah. So it gives
it
you a lot of
helps
information.
to really understand where some of these people came from. And I mean,
Mm.
you can feel bad for the kid, not for what the person did, but for the kid that
Right.
was before that.
Right, right. And I do believe like really like even though we can't justify everything, we can understand things
It
unfolding in a certain way. For a lot of people,
absolutely.
everything has a cause. Yes, it's like dominoes falling into place. Um, what would you say your writing process looks like getting from idea to final draft?
Um, I have characters that have lived in my head for
Hmm.
ages.
Yeah.
Like Kaisa, I created her back in high school, so
Hmm.
2010, 2011.
Hmm.
Oh God, I feel old. But she was originally created as an OC for a Gallagher Girl fan fiction that I was writing because I loved Allie Carter, and I still do.
Hmm.
So she kind of evolved from this spy school type character
Hmm.
to where she is now, which poor girl. Poor girl's not allowed
Right.
to have nice things yet.
Right. Right.
Yet. But like these characters just have popped up in my head, and it's just like, okay, I do a lot of just exploring what I see and hear when it comes to just daydreaming and see where it
Hmm.
goes from there at first. And
Hmm.
then they kind of end up with a color that I associate with them. And with that, I start looking at some types of aesthetic things to figure out how I want them to look.
Okay.
And for me, it's mostly I work on the character first, and then the story just kind of comes with it after. I do
Sure. So you
have
focus on characters more.
some, yeah, I do have
Okay.
some outlines, but I look at my outlines and go, fuck.
Right.
And go, okay, that doesn't fit anymore. Let's erase
Right.
that.
Yeah, yeah. So a little bit of a hybrid between planting or plotting and pantsing, which I
Yeah.
think most people is kind of a spectrum, right? Like I do the plotting, I do the pantsing. It's just how much of each we do. Yeah.
Absolutely. That's really relatable. I need to have an outline. I need to sort of know how the dominoes are set up. But all the time, my characters are surprising me when they balk.
Mhm.
They don't want to do
Right.
that. And I have to be like, what's wrong?
Exactly.
They go, let's go this way. And I'm like, you know what? That's better.
Right.
Let's go, you know? And so I
Yes,
have
that's
to adjust the outline accordingly. But it's nice to have sort of an idea of how the ending is,
right.
how to get to the ending that you want.
Yes.
Right. And that's one thing I'll tell people is like you are not married to your outline, meaning you don't have to go to court to change it, right? Like we don't have to like have a judge step in and say like things can happen now that change. So yes, I'm always like, because that's the big complaint we hear from a lot of people. They're like, oh, I hate making outlines or I hate plotting ahead because like it always changes. Well, if you get better ideas while you're writing, that's fine. Just like make notes in your outline and like go from there. For me, I need a little
Exactly.
bit of that direction of like, where am I headed? Because otherwise, I just stare at the screen like having an existential crisis.
Mhm.
That's kind of where I am now while I'm
Oh, yes.
trying to do my writing challenge for this month. I've written what,
Yes.
300 words?
Yes. In the month of
You wrote
November.
300 words
Yeah.
though. Are they good words? Quality,
Uh,
maybe?
probably.
Okay.
Good.
Probably.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I'm just going through and rereading the third manuscript
Yes. Yes.
and seeing what I want to add. And I had someone ask me a
Yeah.
very good question, and I'm like, oh, I haven't actually talked about that yet. I probably should.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, it's great getting feedback on your writing because people do ask those really
Yes.
great questions sometimes.
But do keep in mind that there is more to writing than just your word count. You also have
Yes.
to like let things stew in your brain for a while. You have to ask yourself the hard questions. You have to do your mood boards. You have to,
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
you have to find
Right.
yourself. You have to find the story. You have to find the excitement. And then when you're ready, it just like whoosh, it can come out a lot
Yeah.
faster than if you force yourself to sit down and stare at that little blinking cursor. Like it's just,
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
so
Staring at the
there's
blinking
so much
cursor
better.
sucks.
There's
It
so much
really
more to be
does.
an author
Yeah.
than your word count.
Yeah.
You got to market your
Yeah.
first book. You've got to talk. You've got to connect. You've got to do,
Mm-hmm.
interviews. There's a lot going on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Um,
So you're doing better than you think.
yeah, no,
Thank
300
you.
words. 300 words, regardless, is still 300 more than you had before this month.
Mhm.
That
I
is
know it's
true.
kind of interesting because it always used to be about NaNoWriMo this month, and that kind of became a dumpster fire in many ways. Um,
Mhm.
so what I've been doing for this month is just writing prompt challenge with my sister. So we have a writing
Ooh.
prompt every day, and we just write just to get that creativity going and the spirit of writing uh, creatively for this month. But I know there's a lot of other options people are kind of pursuing
Oh,
instead of
yeah.
the National Novel Writing Month. So I hope people are still getting good writing in this month. Yeah.
Yes. There is
Yeah.
one challenge I failed miserably last year, but
Okay.
the year before, it is on Tumblr. It is Febby and it's all
Okay.
angsty shit. Everything is
Yeah. Oh yeah.
angsty. Every single prompt. So there's 28 different prompts, and then there's like 8 different alternative prompts if you don't like one of them.
Sure. No, that sounds okay. I will have to check that out because angst is right up my alley. I know when I wrote a lot of poetry in high school, it was very melancholic, angsty, like wannabe Neruda.
Everything.
And yeah, I was just failing.
Everything I write is full of angst, even when I
Yes,
role
yes.
play.
Right, right.
Because
The moody elf.
even even though I'm published, I still role play because why
Yeah.
not?
Right, right. We love a good game.
Mhm.
Um, what would you say your favorite author is, and what do they do well?
Oh, that is such a hard question. Ah,
I know, I know. We're always like narrow it down, but
I'm like, I absolutely adore CL Stone, and I
okay.
do kind of love the little bit of fluffiness along with the angst in both her series, The Ghostbird and Scarab Beetle. And of course, it's reverse harem because I actually enjoy that stuff. But reverse harem, and it's not super dark romance like some of the stuff that I've read. um,
Yeah,
but
yeah. No, why choose can be a very fun genre.
I love my Why Choose so
Mhm.
much.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I mean, those are my comfort series right
Yes.
now.
Yeah, your comfort reads. Yeah.
But if I'm going with if I'm going with comfort, it's definitely C.L. Stone. Growing up,
Sure.
it was Allie Carter. I
Mm.
absolutely loved the whole spy stuff, loved the fact that she had um, art thieves at one point for one of the series. It was so much fun. But getting into the more adult books, I honestly am liking a lot more of the true crime than
Mhm.
crime fiction because crime fiction is way too predictable as at this
Oh, yeah.
point. Oh my god, it is too
Yeah.
predictable. But John Glatt is probably my favorite when it comes to crime fiction, and he's one of the ones I've listened to the most this year because I listen to
Sure.
audiobooks.
And
And
so what do you
I
love about his books?
it is the attention to detail with his
Mm.
investigating, and
Okay.
just it gives so much of what happened, and I feel like I'm right there as he's investigating while I'm listening or reading it.
Sure.
I
Yeah, no, I know what you mean about some of the predictability in certain genres just because there's like formulas, right, for how
Yeah.
things unfold. And one thing I really love about Kirsha's book is the intricacies of like plot details, kind of like what you're saying about your favorite author, of just like everything kind of woven very neatly and
Yes.
everything placed in a specific spot so that when the dominoes do fall, they have like the intended effect. So I really love books like that. Like if I could pick what kind of author I was, I would have like those plot twists and the turns and the little bits all woven in. But I'm definitely not that writer. That's just
Mm.
what I aspire to be.
It is what I hope I can be.
Yeah, yeah, right,
Twisty
right. That's
plots
what we
are
want to
my
emulate.
jam. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I had a different editor go through and she highlighted a bunch of stuff and she's like, you need to get rid of all these unimportant details. And I'm like, oh no, no, there is no wasted words. These are all important. These
Right.
are all
Right.
important characters. Like this will come back and they'll curse themselves for not seeing it.
Right.
I
And
love
then
it.
that's the thing is like there'll be like these seeds planted in books one and two and they don't pay off until much, much later. And so I love those kinds of plots where it's just like
Oh,
everything's like a seed planted or a domino set up perfectly and then when it falls you're just like, ah, how did I not know? Yeah.
one of my major plot points doesn't even fully get touched until the fourth
Yeah.
manuscript.
Right, right. The fourth story. It's so funny how our stories grow from like, oh, it's just gonna be the one book, and then all of a sudden it's like book five. We're talking about.
I honestly have always planned on Kaisa's books to be at least five
Yeah.
or six.
Yes, yes. It's always been a big story that you've had then.
She's not my only one though.
Right.
The other ones are gonna be just as
Yeah.
rough.
Okay. Yeah. Just as intense then.
You'll
So
get religious trauma.
can I ask
Right.
you, what have you learned from the writing process? Because you knew that you wanted to be a writer, you kind of left college with the idea of I'm going to pursue this dream. But
Yeah.
what have you learned since that decision to like having your first book out?
It is absolutely terrifying and daunting at first. It still is in
Hmm.
certain aspects, Um, I've had a lot of asking people questions and being like, what am I supposed to be looking for? What am I supposed to be kind of budgeting for when it comes to knowing what I should
Right.
expect with editing, formatting, and cover art. And
Mhm.
it is a huge learning curve for me when it comes to marketing. And I am going to
Right.
blame my ADHD for this one because I cannot, for the life of me, get on an actual schedule to post.
Oh, yeah.
And I've
I
tried so often.
I use a scheduler, to be honest, because then I can spend so much time just once a week, schedule the post, and I can do that whenever,
Ooh,
rather than remembering to do. Yeah, we can talk after about like
yeah,
different scheduler options. Yeah, because I could, if I had to do it every day or even multiple times a week, I never would, right?
that's
But
where I'm at.
yeah, yeah, it's yeah, that's the crappiest part, for sure. But yeah, one thing I love about the writing community is that we all are there for each other. When you have those questions as a new author, or even like me, by the time I publish my next book, I've forgotten how to do it from the previous one. So I'm always like, Kirsha, what does this mean about the cover? Like, what does this mean? Like, what do I do in this next
Yeah.
stage of the publishing process? And yeah, so I really love that about the writing community, that like nobody really gatekeeps and everyone's always so helpful because we all went through it ourselves and we're like,
Yes.
it's a nightmare. Let me help you.
It is a nightmare, but it's totally worth it.
It is so worth it. Like we were talking about, like one of the best feelings is just holding your book for that first time. And yes, yeah.
I mean, on top of that was when my third grade teacher reached out to me and I got her a copy signed
Oh,
and sent down to her, and
yeah. Oh, yes.
just her telling me that she always knew I was a magical child and just she knew I was
Oh,
gonna do
yes.
something. And I'm just like, I I loved her. She was one
Right.
of my
Right.
favorites. And she's like, the feeling of antipathy that you are able
Yeah.
to create. And
Right.
I'm just like, I did not know.
Yeah, no, it's when you have that like magical teacher experience, like it's so meaningful,
Mhm.
the role that they have in your life as helping to shape you as like a young person, and then to hear from them as an adult and say like you did a good job, like I would just have
Yeah.
been bawling. I would have just been like crying mess, like
I totally cried. I
Mhm.
mean,
yeah.
it beats hearing awful things from some English teachers I
Yeah.
had.
Right. Right. No, it makes a huge difference.
And I will be
What would you
petty and I want to
Yeah.
give her a copy of my book and be like, screw you.
Right. What would you say is your favorite part of writing?
Oh, goodness. Getting the thoughts out, to be honest, because it feels like they're all bottled
Right.
inside. And if I can't get them out, I'm just
Right.
too keyed up.
Yeah.
Like, I love being able to see what my brain can actually put on into words instead of just
Mhm.
abstract, not even images, because I can't even see images in my mind's eye. It's just abstract
Right.
concepts.
Right.
So trying to type it out or write it out, I can feel what I'm writing, weirdly
Mhm.
enough, just in the tactile sense, I can feel it.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so feeling what I'm writing and seeing it on the page as I'm writing it is probably my favorite thing.
Yeah. No, that experience is like unlike anything else of it, the story unfolding in real time before you.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's the best part is when you're in that flow state, everything's just going, the words are just coming out. I love that feeling as well.
The
It's
characters are
almost like
talking.
automatic writing.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, you're channeling something.
The music is singing and you're inspired. Yeah.
What would you say your least favorite part of writing is?
Looking at that dreaded cursor.
Yeah, right. When we're not sure of what words to say to start.
When I know I
Yeah.
have words that I want to write, but nothing is coming out, and so I just
Right.
key smash.
Yeah, yeah. So when you face moments kind of like that with writer's block, how do you get past that?
I will occasionally go to a different project that I'm working on, or one of my
Yeah.
favorite things is I go play on Sims. And
Right.
I
Okay.
will create the characters, create the buildings, and just try to really get down to the nitty gritty detail of the facial features, the body structure, especially in the Create a Sim. But when it
Okay.
comes to building the houses and getting, like, it helps me imagine how someone walks through a house and stuff when I'm actually building it on
Yeah.
Sims.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah. No,
it will pull me out of it if I play it or do some building and stuff, and it will be like, here, this is what you need.
right.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah,
No,
because
I think
it's like a
aids like
real
that.
place you now.
Yeah, and I think aids like that are very helpful if you do struggle with visualizing. Because a lot of writers we hear, they see the movie in their head and they just write the story down. But like when you
Lucky.
struggle with visualizing, right? I'm in the same boat, right? I really struggle to visualize anything. So it's just like having those apps or those programs where you can kind of like see it on the
Yeah,
screen helps you to figure out how to write the story in a realistic way. So yeah. Yeah,
exactly.
I totally understand that.
I
Yeah.
also totally do movements of stuff just to make sure I'm getting the feeling of the muscle right when I'm trying to type it out.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. No, another thing is like I know a friend and colleague will like act out fight scenes because they actually know about swords and sword play and all of that stuff. Or people will like act out dialogue between characters, like
Yes.
Catherine Sweet. She will often like kind of act out what the characters are saying, and so it sounds like realistic dialogue and stuff like that. Those are very effective
Yes.
things that you can do as a writer to like make sure things are feeling like real world, like this is how that would happen.
And
So
no,
my
speaking of the
yeah,
fighting, sorry,
yeah,
it
go ahead.
reminds me of the fact that I actually LARP, and
Right.
I I fight um, full contact foam sword fighting. Lancerus is the
Yeah,
group.
yeah.
Um, but I use the fact that I fight with an 8-foot pole arm for certain types of writing
Right.
too. And it's like I can tell
Right.
you, like, describe exactly how it feels to swing that or
Right.
get hit so hard that your knees buckled under you. Like, oh, that's hard.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, no, and that's one thing. So Katie Slides actually brought some practice swords when they visited Michigan, and so I could feel the heft of the weight of it and kind of get an idea of like how to do a fight scene with a sword of like if I didn't know what I was doing, what would I do with my arm, right? And so that was like
that is
really fun.
awesome.
Yeah, it was fun, but very like intimidating at the same time because I'm like, oh, you want me to swing this at a person? Like, no, thank you.
You can always
Yeah,
join me
yeah.
for foam fighting. It doesn't hurt as bad as
Yeah.
actual
Oh
metal.
yeah. Yeah. No, that sounds like so much fun. Yeah. Um, but yes, there's some different tactics you can do to bring that vividness of description and real life to your writing. So I love that you incorporate different things like The Sims and LARPing to like kind of give that vividness to your writing as well.
It's helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So my favorite question is, what has been your most significant writing victory so far?
Honestly, hearing the feedback that
Hmm.
I have gotten from people, hearing people asking questions, and it's it was kind of cute and silly and I loved it. But I had a friend who was reading Heinous and real
Hmm.
time texting me and going, I'm messaging the author.
Yes,
Like stuff
yes.
like that was just, I'm like, wait, I'm published.
You're the author. Yes, yes.
Mhm.
Life
I like
goal accomplished. Yes.
this is an incredible feeling to have
Hmm.
just someone asking me questions about my writing, because I'm like, I've always had questions for other authors. Just
Right,
being in
right.
the shoes that I never thought I'd be in.
Exactly. Like the first time I did a signing, and I was just like, oh, what a feeling, right? Where you're just like, it's my book, and I get to put my name in my book and give it to people, and you want it. Like, so
Yeah.
gratifying. Yeah, it's such a great feeling for sure. So, do you have any writing advice that you hate? Like, you think it's either too broad of a brushstroke, does not apply for most people, or just you think it's just not the best advice? Any writing advice that you hate?
Hmm. I mean, I hate hearing sit down and write, but honestly, that's the only thing that you kind of really can do. I hate
Right.
hearing it, but it's also, I don't like being told what to do.
Right. No, the PDA is very strong with me. I'm like, yes,
Same.
yes, you gotta approach asking me appropriately, if you want something done.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I like Louis L'Amour says, like, he the way he phrases it I thought was really well done. And he just phrases it as like you have to turn on the faucet, like the tap for the
Mhm.
water has to be running for the story, the creativity to happen, the writing to happen.
Yes.
So just having the tap on helps, right, to get that started. But I do hate advice that is like you have to write every day or you have to write so many
Nope.
words every day because there's like so many people or circumstances, different things that would like that wouldn't be great advice with. Like for example, if you're going through burnout, writing
Yeah.
every day is not going to help, right? So,
Or
but
if you've
yeah,
had a year of one thing just happening after another, like
right, right. The year of catastrophe, as we
that, like
tend to
this year.
have.
This year has been that
Yeah.
year of catastrophe.
So, Heinous is out. Is book two also available? I'm
Yes, it
curious.
came
Yes.
available August 31st.
Wonderful. Yeah.
Congrats.
So, two books in the Heinous series out. Congratulations. Tell us where we can find more about you and those books online.
I am on Instagram, Facebook, and yeah, I'm going to say it, Tumblr.
Sure.
Because I know it's cringy still.
Yeah. Writings by Aria
uh,
Vargas. Yeah.
Thank you. Um, so I'm on those three places. And currently, you can find both books on Amazon through, um, you can get ebook, paperback, and hardcover. And I am currently working through getting the third manuscript ready to be sent over to you, Julia, because I love you.
Yeah. No, yes. Very excited about that.
I love you as my editor. You are fantastic.
Oh, you're so kind. Yes, I love. Like I said, when I'm editing, it's very nice because I'm like I'm getting paid to read a story and give my ideas on it, which the English major in me just like absolutely adores, just like delving into stories. So
If I
I'm
could go
very
back to
blessed.
college, I'd do that.
Yeah, no, I'm very, very blessed with what I'm able to do, pursuing career wise. So, well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been really great talking with you.
Yes.
Yeah, so thanks for
Oh, it's
joining
been
us.
great talking with both of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Yeah.
having me.
Mhm.
And thank you to everyone who's listening along at home. Remember, there's more than one way up a mountain, and our next episode releases Friday as usual. If you're interested in being a guest on the show, you can find us on social media at The Tell Not Show or email us at thetellnotshow@gmail.com. Thanks again.
Thanks again for listening. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing and liking. We appreciate all the support. Julia J.K. Allen is an author, editor, and coach and can be found at hijinksrudder.com.
Kirsha Fox is an author, avid reader, gamer, and mother to four, and you can find her at kirshafox.com. Thanks and see you next time.